Welcome to All Things Retreat podcast. I'm Holly Porter, your host and CEO of Retreat R&R. With over 25 years of experience in designing transformative retreats, I'm here to share insights and inspiration to help you create extraordinary experiences. Whether you're a pro or just starting out, you'll find valuable ideas here. Enjoy the ride. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the All Things Retreat podcast, where we explore ideas, strategies, and people sharing the future of the retreat industry. Today, we're talking about something every retreat leader, and event leader eventually faces: how to grow without creating more chaos. As your business expands, it can become harder to manage the details, lead a team, stay organized, and still deliver exceptional experiences for your participants. At some point, passion and hard work are no longer enough. You need to do the right systems, structure, and support behind the scenes. My guest today is Katie Peterman, founder of your FRX. Katie is an operator and growth strategist who has helped scale multiple 7- and 8-figure companies and has worked with more than 1,200 business owners. In this conversation, we're going to discuss the biggest operational mistakes retreat and event leaders make, how to know when you have to become the bottleneck in your own business, and when to hire your first team member. Also, what it really takes to build a high-performing team without breaking the bank. We're also going to talk about financial or fractional executives, sustainable growth, delegation, and how to turn business chaos into clarity and action. Katie, welcome to All Things Retreat podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Holly. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, so excited to have you too. I always love to chat with my guests a little bit beforehand, and so it's nice to get to know Katie. And all right, we are just going to get into it. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
So you have a strong background in sales. I'm tongue-tied today. I can't get my words out very well, but let's start. You have a strong background in sales, operations, and organizational leadership. How did those experiences lead you to create your FRX?
Yes. So, as a salesperson, you like that drive, you like the chase, you like the excitement, right? Typically, most people and most sales teams are not fond of operations, right? But because I cared about my sales team so much and I wanted to create a way for them to win, right? I think even if you do like that ever-changing environment and the chase and the excitement that sales can offer, everybody likes a little bit of reassurance and consistency and safety, right? No one's ever going to say no to that. So I was able to take operations and translate that into, hey, here's exactly the playbook, the systems, the KPIs, the metrics that we can break down for you as a sales individual, because each personality, each human being is just so different. And here's a roadmap to success that's going to set you up that provides safety and security. And when I saw that change, I was like, wow, I want to do this for more people. I want to create, a proven path to success. I want to create frameworks that set people up. And people are like, I get it now. And it's almost like I found a way to make operations sexy, which it's like whoever thinks that operations is sexy, no one.
Right.
But I found a way for people to buy into it. So it wasn't like a chore. It wasn't like they were being micromanaged. And when I started to see that pattern, I also was like, okay, the traditional COO role is kind of broken. And a lot of small businesses, right, especially in their first 2 to 3 years, which is so critical if you're trying to avoid failure, but they don't have these crazy budgets to go hire a CEO or some, fancy executive with $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 salaries, right? And I'm a natural supporter, right? Like operationally, I am just a supporter at heart, both personally and professionally. That's what I strive for is bringing people's visions to life. And I really want everyone to have an opportunity to have access to high level people and be able to do that and to get them off the ground and get them running. So that's how I started your FRX. So it stands for your fractional executive. You get a high level executive and it's a plug and play. You have someone who immediately has your back and can step in with the experience, the tenure, the grit, and just get it done.
Yeah, and so needed, especially for a lot of solopreneurs, even when they're just not ready quite for that next step, but you can help them get there. So when we
Absolutely.
talk about turning chaos into clarity, what does business chaos usually look like behind the scenes? Do I dare ask?
Well, with events, you could talk about that for a very long time, right?
Yeah.
Retreats. There's so many things. In the beginning, I think what's awesome, and you have to remember that this is the grounding place you want to get back to. So, in the beginning, right, you have this vision and you have this dream, and it's fun, and things are just naturally coming together, right? The people are coming, the team is coming, the agenda is coming. You have the first couple events and it's going well and you're like, wow, that felt good. We got 2 clients, we got 1 client. We started this membership. We had such a good experience. People are talking about it.
Mhm.
And then event, 2, 3, 4, 5, we really need to start focusing on revenue. We've got to make this a system. We need to make it a business. This is where the chaos starts. And I think it starts because as a visionary and as an owner, right, as the leader, you start getting all these new ideas. And so each event, what you're doing starts to change, and then it becomes different every event, and then you are switching things last minute, maybe pricing, maybe the format, maybe the agenda, and we're not getting enough data to really make educated decisions. We're kind of doing things like on a whim or with a gut feeling, and then the team, they may feel different. Their experience, their background, their gut instincts, they might not agree with the change. And so when we're moving fast, because now we're on event, 3, 4, 5, right? We're doing our next set with everyone that's came to your retreat, but we're making these changes. That's when the chaos really starts. And so you, as the owner and the founder, you need to stay very high level and you need to stay locked in. Let your team, and I would say, like, really try and stick to the consistency. I know everyone does it different. Some people have really big retreats once a year. It's really hard to get data and make data driven decisions when we don't have the frequency of it, right?
Yeah.
But you can do research with other events or other retreats that do once a year events, right? If you
Right.
have the frequency, like you have 3, but it's like commit to 3 before we make massive changes, and
Yeah.
then only change 2 or 3 small things, right? Or maybe 1 big thing and 1 small thing, maybe 2 small things, right? Don't make too many changes at one time that you can't actually track and have data for to say, okay,
Mhm.
this resulted in success. This was a good change for us. Don't implement too much technology, or don't change all the entire confirmation process up. We have to have a little bit of data, but I think that people get focused and they get a little bit panicky about revenue when we get into those later events or stages, or like, okay, we spent XYZ on the retreat and now we really need to recoup that. We felt great, we had a great experience, but we get a little kind of crazy and panicky when it comes to the
Yeah.
revenue side sometimes, because so many things can be out of your control, right? Weather, flights, whatever's happening on the news, you name it. So many things can affect events and retreats. And so I get it. We've all been there, that we need to focus on revenue, but we can't go start from ground zero, blow things up, make nuclear changes, and
Yeah.
then expect a good outcome. And I think that that really creates a lot of chaos, is because we waited too late to kind of focus on revenue. And then you should always start by putting structure in the beginning and growing from there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, with International Retreat Association, that's my 12th startup company. So I'm no stranger to starting something from nothing, but I'm growing it so differently, and it'll be the biggest thing I've ever grown because of the industry of what it is. And it's exciting, but it's like, those are the things, like what you're teaching is what we want to bring people into this community and help them to understand and learn and grow. And sometimes, I mean, there's very, very few events that focus on retreat leaders that are training. And I mean, very few, because I'm looking for all of them right now, wanting to sponsor them, because I don't look at anything like that as competition. An association is a group that people should all sit under, whether they're a software provider in events or whether they're doing their own events. It's like, no, this is a community and we all want to grow together. But when we're talking about operational mistakes for event and retreat leaders and things that they make as they start to grow? How do you think they can fix that before it comes costly and they don't have that mistake of the cost involved?
Yeah. So a lot of times, and I totally get it because it's your vision and it's your mission. And there's a really big, a lot of times with retreats, there's this huge like purpose pull to it,
Mhm.
right? It's a very
Yeah.
deep
Oh,
connection to the event that you're putting on.
yeah.
And so it becomes very personal. There's this like really big attachment to it. And you need to stay in that space, right? You need to stay high level and building the relationships and the connections. A lot of people will naturally, because it's a safety mechanism. I don't really believe that it's ego. I know sometimes that can come into the picture, but let's say best case scenario, it's a safety mechanism. And so we'll say, well, I got us this far. I reached this level of success. I was able to build the vision and the mission and the dream is out there. So I need to go find another me, someone who thinks just like
Yeah.
me, someone who does all the things like me. If I could just have one more me and put that in the space, like we would reach X, Y, and Z. And that's
Yeah.
actually the opposite. So you actually don't need another you. You are the leader. You are the visionary. You are the one casting the vision and setting out the mission, right, for everyone. You need to stay big picture. You don't need someone coming in and changing your big picture, trying to take it a different direction, right? They're coming up with three, four, five new ideas, and you're like, hey, that's not what we're doing, right? I know a lot
Right.
of people experience that. So I'm like, wait, that's not even the path I wanted to go down. You
Mhm.
actually need to hire your opposite, right? And I'm talking to all the visionaries and the dreamers right now. You're really good at building those relationships and you're really good at getting out there as a connector and a collaborator. And like I said, taking the dream and the mission to someone. But we all know if we have a very honest conversations, for some of you that even you're a little bit operational, we're not good at follow up. We're not good at details. We're not good at, you know, getting, I would say even the execution part sometimes is really tough. And I get it. Your brain is moving a mile a minute and you're just zooming and going and talking and connecting with people. You need to hire the opposite of you. And I
Mhm.
promise there is someone out there that loves doing everything that drags you down, that takes your energy and you're like, "Oh man, I don't want to do that. I want to go out and I want to talk to people and you want to charge your batteries and you want to like collaborate and you should be doing that." You need to find someone who loves the follow-up, the admin, the payments, the invoicing, the follow-ups, the scheduling, the moving things, the renegotiating contracts and you know, especially with events and retreats, like
Right.
your venue space and the audio visual setup and like what you have contractually and putting things together and how many bodies you can fit in a room
Mm.
and like the logistics of things, that's
Right.
not necessarily fun, but that's a make or break for your event, you know. And so you need to go hire the opposite of what you've created. And I think that that is like the best place to start.
Yeah. Well, you talked about retreat leaders being highly creative and visionary, and they are. But where do creative entrepreneurs tend to struggle most, do you feel, when it comes to systems and operations?
I think one of the bigger things is they really struggle with communicating what that is, right? So they
Mhm.
will just assume that because it's so clear to them and it's so clear in their mind and they can see 5, 10, 15 years down the road, right? Sometimes of
Yeah.
like this big, even with what you're explaining to me for the association, like you already see it. It's there. It's in your
Mhm.
mind. You have like you know exactly what that looks like. And I get that because I've been trained working with enough people that I can easily kind of tap into that space. But
Yeah.
your admin assistant, your personal assistant, your event coordinator, your assistant of operations, sometimes they can't see that. And so just to assume that they get it, they can see that exact same big picture that you're seeing or that they know all of the details, that's where communication wise we really kind of get off track. And I think that that's the most hurtful in the launch of things because I know how hard as a founder and an owner and a visionary to get people to buy into like your heart's dream of putting that out there. And like I said, this is something in the retreat world. It's very passionate. It's a why. It's purpose driven for a lot of people. And so getting that buy-in when people you feel like don't connect with your dream or your vision, that really can like put a damper on things, and it's
Yeah.
it's not fun to have a bunch of wet blankets around. Um, but if you learn to communicate the vision and the dream and really paint that picture in their mind for them exactly how you're seeing it with communication,
Yeah.
and set like clear expectations of deliverables versus just assuming they got it, you are going to see the buy-in go up. You're going to see like people want to support whatever
Yeah.
it is that you're doing. There's people out there that they're just so bought in and they have the same kind of like purpose or why, but they want to support it differently. They're not the visionary or the owner or the founder. They're there to support you. And the more that you give people a very clear path of how to support you to do that, you're going to see such a huge shift in all of it. And it doesn't have to be so painful when building.
Yeah. Oh boy. Boy. You're describing when I ran for political office years ago, which definitely was not my journey. And it took me a lot to figure that out. It's such a different feeling when you are like, feel like you're forcing something on somebody rather than they gravitate towards you because of that similar vision. And it feels so much better
Yeah.
energy around that. Um, what or when is the right time, would you say, for a business of doing retreats for them to hire their first team member when they know they really do need some extra hands?
I would set, I totally understand putting things into it. I think that team members could mean something different for everyone. So whether you start with a virtual assistant, right? Whether you start with someone who just books the event, an event coordinator, this could be different for everyone. But I would say the moment that when you are thinking about your dream or your passion and you're doing this and you have that moment of like, this isn't fun anymore, like,
Yeah.
do not let that light go out. Do not like let that damper. It does not have to be a day like that. But if
Mhm.
you are not enjoying it,
Yeah.
it's time. And
Reminds
then,
me of a divorce.
yeah, yeah. And then I will say this, and I know that, this isn't necessarily what everyone wants to hear, but this is the truth, right?
Yeah.
If you cannot afford to hire someone and it's not being supported and it's not coming together financially, like a startup, even in the events in the retreat world, a startup is a predetermined amount of time and a predetermined amount of money. And
Mm.
you, like, yes, this is a dream and you can have people support you and you can go out and you can make changes and you can do all of these things, but you have to make some commitments and you need to stand by those. And if you get to a place and you're still not able to hire someone, then it has to, like, that's when like the model has to change, because you can't do that forever. No business is built on a solo team.
No.
And you have to reach a point that you need to hire someone. And so really, I don't really like to see people being by themselves, especially in the event space, for more than 90 days.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I had a conversation with someone just about a week ago. They had literally no showed me for 3 scheduled meetings, and if it wasn't somebody in the industry that I wanted to really build a relationship with and work with, I would have peace out. This is obviously, you don't value my time, for
Yes,
one, but it's like, oh, I need an assistant. There was that excuse. And it's like, well, then
then
why
get
don't you
one.
have one? I mean, yes, you're running around with your head cut off. You don't have time to look for one. I mean, we can always make all these excuses, but the bottom line is, when it's affecting your reputation, which I felt like it definitely was how I was feeling towards her. Like I said, I would have never continued playing that playing that game with her if it wasn't somebody I really liked, and I knew that, yeah, you are too busy. But it's like, don't ever let it ruin your reputation, I guess. But
Yeah. No, I
I
think
want
that's
to,
really important, and people just don't understand how much of an impact that has, right?
yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
going
yeah.
back to kind of like ego, and I will just say this because we all have to work on it on a daily, hourly basis, right? There is no success and there's absolutely zero winning. There is no prize or reward in life for saying, I stayed up till 2 a.m. I did it all by myself. Like, oh, I just worked all weekend. There's no prize in that. There's
No,
no prize in that. Hire somebody.
yeah,
No one, and maybe this is for the younger generation that's listening, but no one that is a credible source is going to look at that and be like, wow, I really respect that. People are going to
yeah,
be like, why are you being cheap and not hiring someone? Like, it doesn't sound professional. It doesn't sound good. There
yep,
really isn't an excuse. Like, yes, people have turnover, I totally understand that when someone's like, hey, we're sorry, I currently don't have an EA or I don't have support right now. We're
Yeah,
backlogged. Totally understand turnover. But to just be a one man show and then you're dropping the ball, that
right.
really says a lot about how you like think about the world, which would
Yeah.
be a concern for me as well.
Yeah, I know. I had a lot of lessons last week of what I don't want to do and how I don't want to show up. And it was like, okay, it just, I think we get those for a reason and realize, that's not how I want to handle my business either. And I need to be very cautious that I'm never coming across that way when these certain circumstances are happening. And
Yeah.
let's talk about founders hiring for the tasks that they don't like, or the task consuming the most time, or the task requiring skills that they don't have. Let's talk about that.
Yes. So we kind of touch base on this. And
Yeah.
what I see happen is you're busy, things are going, you'll bring somebody on board and you'll be like, okay, well, I just need you to do the follow up and I need you to do this and like handle the contracts and stuff. And like, just let me know how that goes. That doesn't work. And
No.
most of the time, your first few hires, if they're in the price point that you're starting out at, they're not just going to be able to come in and get it and like, no problem. Yeah, I've reviewed all the contracts. Like, you're not
Yeah.
hiring the rock star for your first two hires most of the time, right? We're trying to be budget conscious. We're trying to be budget friendly. We're doing this. We're building. We're growing. And so when you're not bringing in the rock star, you have to set this person up for success to act like a rock star. And
Yeah.
so, I would say it starts from the very beginning. A lot of people are not even clear on the role, and they'll be like, I just need to hire an event coordinator. I just need to hire a podcast booker. I just need to
Yeah.
hire a customer service person, right? And
Yeah.
then they put up a very generic, basic ad, or they reach out to people, they don't fully describe it. This person introduces them to someone who sometimes is completely the wrong fit, Like, yes, sometimes things work out and that's fantastic, but it starts really early on in that job description process.
Mhm.
We need to sit down, we need to brainstorm a little bit. And now with things like AI, this is a fantastic tool. I know that you're not a writer. I know that, when you're moving fast and you're doing events and retreats and things, you don't want to sit down and do the work. Get out ChatGPT on your phone, pull up
Yeah.
the voice note and say, hey, this is the person that I'm looking to hire. This is everything that I want them to do. And I need to do them. I need them to do this at a very high level. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I think I want to pay. What are your thoughts? What questions do you have for me? Can you help me design a job description? And then review that. And really just
Mm.
ask yourself, because this is another thing I hear all the time, is people will hire someone and they are still very focused on revenue. So they're wanting an immediate return on this hire, right? And they'll say, well, I don't know. I don't even know what they do all day. I hear that all the time. I don't even know what they do all day. Well, of course you don't, because you're not doing that. And
Yeah.
like we've discovered, the details to follow up the contracts, that's not your wheelhouse. So there's a little bit of a lack of appreciation for some of the things in the details that I see with people sometimes.
Yeah.
And you need to, what will give you peace in that new arrangement, right? And will keep you in alignment and be able to have a very transparent conversation is two or three KPIs, key performance indicators, two or three KPIs that either on a daily or weekly, I wouldn't suggest any longer than that, daily or weekly, especially when the relationship is new and you're investing in this hire for your company, that you guys are communicating, are we on track or are we off track? And that's it. This is going to be a learning curve for the both of you in establishing this relationship, but now you know. And so at the end of the day, if you're like, hey, how many folks registered for our event? And you just check in at the end of every day and
Yeah.
they say, we had 2 people register, we had 12 people register. Did that align with your weekly goal, which attributes to your monthly goal, which
Right.
attributes to your quarterly event, that you're trying to hit? You reverse engineer those things. And now we have a daily or weekly success metric that,
Mhm.
okay, if we didn't register 12 people for the week and that's our goal, maybe we only hit 7, that carries over to next week's deficit, right? And I would then go ask the team, because again, you hired someone, so you've transferred that responsibility, and you say, hey, let's brainstorm on this. We're behind on registrations. We're going to have to double down next week. What do
Yeah.
you propose, is our plan? What's our next steps? And brainstorming on that. But, having clear responsibilities for that role and having 2 or 3 measurable items that you can check in daily or weekly when it's a new relationship is going to be vital for that person to have success, for you to feel like you made a good investment, for the relationship to grow. And then that way you're not bringing someone on board who like we talked about earlier, they might not have had said yes if they got the full picture. They might be the wrong person because they didn't fully understand the vision. They didn't even know what they were saying yes to. You just went out last minute, made a gun at the hip hire, right? Brought somebody on board, and now you're frustrated with that payroll because you feel like money's going out the door because you're trying to generate revenue. You have all these big goals that we don't have metrics for.
No, it's just having those systems in place are so important, and they get missed a lot. Well, I think, yeah, this has been a great conversation. I'm sure the retreat leaders have gotten a lot of tips out of this. And it's got a lot of things top of mind for me right now too, just because we're creating our first couple virtual and live events for the association. So yeah, it's like, okay, get back in the swing of things. I've done events for many, many years, and it always has its challenges, and you just have to figure out the best solutions and be a good leader. But yeah, definitely be clear on who you hire and what their job is, because you can't hold someone accountable that doesn't know what they don't know. You didn't communicate it to them.
Yeah.
How can you expect them to just do it, right?
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot today, Katie, for being here. And I'm going to put all your contact information into our show notes. So if any of our listeners want to reach out to you, then they will have the information there and can do that. And we appreciate you sharing your knowledge and expertise with us in the events, information and fractional support for executives.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for the association, and I can't wait to see how fast it grows.
Yeah, me too. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time on the show. Bye for now. Thanks for joining us on this episode of All Things Retreat. We hope you're leaving with new ideas, fresh inspiration, and the motivation to take your retreats to the next level. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It helps us grow and reach more retreat leaders like you. And if you have any questions, topics you'd like us to cover, or just want to say hello, send us an email at info@weretreatrnr.com. Follow us on social media to stay connected and catch all the latest updates. Until next time, remember, great retreats start with great intentions. Let's make them extraordinary, one step at a time. Thinking about hosting a retreat? Before you dive in, let's make sure you're really ready. Grab your free Are You Retreat Ready checklist and find out if you've got everything in place, from your purpose and pricing to your audience and agenda. Don't guess, get clear. This quick checklist will show you exactly where you stand and what you need to make your retreat a success. Click the link below in the show notes to grab your gift and take the first step toward hosting with confidence.